Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Johto Season 9 Draft Review. With me, I have Jalek. You can introduce yourself.
Howdy, howdy.
Shadow
Hello.
and Mess.
Hey,
All right, so we'll be going through reviewing all these teams and, yeah, picking out some championship favorites. So, first team, I'll start out with the Clayton Knuckle stacks. Got Garchomp Tornadus, Volcarona, Terra Caldeo, Petron, Klefki, Electrode, Iron Thorns, which can also Terra, Cryogonal, Liepard, and Wooper. Um, Shadow, do you want to start? What are your first thoughts on this team?
Okay, yeah, so looking at the top three with Garchomp, Tornadus, Patch, your first three picks, I see a secret Tornadus Tinglu Pecharon thing going on here, except the Tinglu is Garchomp. And honestly, that's like a solid top three defensive core in my opinion. Uh, and then sure it's weak to ice, but then you have Volcarona and Klefki to an extent to cover that. Let me see what I have here. But I think after your first five picks, which is your Tornadus, Garchomp, Pejaran, Keldeo, your first four, and then you pick Klefki, which feels really weird here, and then it feels like it starts to fall apart from there. Like Volcarona, historically not a strong performer. Uh, there's a lot of I see the vision where you're trying to have set up with, say, screens, and then you have Quiver Dance, Volcarona, you have Keldeo, you have SD Scale Shot, Garchomp.
Sure.
There is a vision where you're trying to set up, but the team also feels very balance oriented, uh, where you want to play like balance instead of screens hyper offense. Hmm.
Sure. Yeah,
Hmm.
I think this team is looking pretty good. They've got a lot of fast guys. Although not always a good thing. They could bring Trick Room into you, which I would never be super worried about. But I will say one thing is that their only dark type is Liepard. Um, so especially with none of your top guys besides Klefki resisting Psychic, that could end up being a problem if you run into like Tapu Lele or an Armarouge or something.
Easy.
But yeah, James, do you have any thoughts?
Yeah, this team definitely, I think you're right, Shadow. I think it seems really hard to break. I also am not a huge fan of Volcarona in draft. It's way better in like a format where you're prepping for a whole bunch of different things instead of just Volcarona. Because I feel like it's relatively easy to check, especially with like rocks, and you can just bring like rock coverage and do a ton of damage if it isn't Terra. Keldeo is terrifying. I'm always scared of that Terra Keldeo. It does so much damage. You can run specs on it, and it's so fast. It doesn't even matter. I like the Cryogonal pick here. I think there's a good, I see good like low point like value usage. I like Klefki, Cryogonal, Electrode are all really good budget picks. I'm I want to see. I'm excited to see how Terra Iron Thorns turns out. I've never used Iron Thorns. I've never heard anyone super high on Iron Thorns, but that doesn't mean it's bad. That just means I haven't seen it before. So I'm excited to see how that turns out.
All right, Luke, do you
Mhm.
have any
um,
opinions?
this team is gonna out everybody. With everybody's having say 100 or more uh, base speed stats, or it's not as fast. Most of them are. If it's not uh, immune to ground, it's either neutral or weak to it. So hopefully, Terra
It's good comms.
with ground being one of, if not the well most used uh, attacking type. So, those are my thoughts.
All right. Something else I think we should mention is that this does have good hazard removal plus setting. Garchomp's obviously got both hazards. Klefki's got spikes.
Yeah.
Ironthorns has both. Cryogonal can rapid spin and defog. Klefki can defog. Tornadus can defog. I don't know if
Mhm.
I don't think
I
Volcarona
think
can. I don't know if it can.
Volcarona has
Um,
default.
There you
Yeah,
go.
it does.
I think the problem is Tornadus, Volcarona, and Klefki all don't really like bringing defog, so in the end you have to bring Karagonal at some point to
Yeah,
remove
for sure.
hazards.
Possibly.
So hazard
We'll see.
removal is a bit strange in my
It could
opinion,
be
but has setting hazards is definitely good.
Oh yeah, for
for
sure.
sure. Okay, well, unless anyone has any other final thoughts on this, I think we can move on to the Cleveland Kickin' Chicken. Okay, so this team consisting of Mega Alakazam, Kingambit, Rillaboom, Conkeldurr, Haxorus, Gyarados, Fortress, Pangoro, Houndstone, Garbodor, and Colossal. Shadow, you can start us off again. What do you think about this team?
Mm. So when I look at this team, I think it's like there's so much physical offense, physical setup. You have Dragon Dance in Haxorus Gyarados, you have Swords Dance Kingambit. Um, Physical walls are gonna have a tough time against this team just because there's so many different things you have to wall here. Uh, However, I guess like hazard removal is a bit on the lower side. Like, you have Fortress, you have Colossal, but Fortress would rather be used as a pivot, so that leaves you just the non-Terra Colossal, which is 4 times weak to water and ground. So it's essentially just hard to bring in. So hazard removal is quite strange, potentially momentum losing here. Um, I like Mega Alakazam as a cleaner. I think it's great. It's just that the speed tiers here are so weird with Mega Alakazam in 150, and then everything else is below 100.
Yeah,
Like you're just outspeeding, and then you're not outspeeding anymore.
Yeah, for sure.
absolutely. Yeah, the team is basically all physical attackers and then Alakazam on top of it. Which it's a bold strategy, but I guess you could catch some people unprepared for the special attack from Alakazam, and the speed tiers definitely are a problem, I would say, because anything the with 97 being the highest besides Alakazam, you're not forcing anything 111 speed and over to run a timid or jolly nature. I think that's right. Um, yeah, so that could turn out to be a problem, but there is a lot of setup on this team. Obviously, Swords Dance from Kingambit, Rillaboom, Bulk Up from Conkeldurr, Dragon Dance from Haxorus and Gyarados. Also, Swords Dance from Haxorus if you wanna go that route. Um, yeah, and like you said, the hazard
Mm-hmm.
removal is definitely not its strong suit. Fortress and Colossal, but both of
You
them
know.
can also set both hazards, and nothing else can, which is also probably not good. So the hazard's definitely a weakness. Speed tiers
Yeah.
too. James, what are you thinking? I know you're playing this team week one.
I think Shadow honestly went over most of them, which is that it's definitely the most interesting team I've seen, in at least in this draft. Just because of you have aside from Mega Alakazam, you have nothing over base 100 speed, and you have nothing over 80 base special attack, which is kind of an insane thought. But honestly, like if you have a team with like all physical attackers, Mega Alakazam is like the special attacker you want to hit so hard and it's so fast that like it's hard to counter on its own. People will build for will build specially defensive just because of Alakazam. They won't build all physical walls and try to like shut you down that way. And
Mhm.
also like everything like King Gambit, Rillaboom, Conkeldurr, all have very strong priority, and then Hax and Gyarados both have Dragon Dance. So I'm excited to. It's definitely like the most interesting like experimental team I've seen. So I'm excited to see how that turns out. I don't want to talk too much smack, of course, because I'm playing Dash Week 1, and I don't want to get slammed and
For
clowned
sure.
on. But
Something
yeah,
else
no,
that
I'm excited. I'm really excited to see how this team turns out because I want to see how this like works on a conceptual level. I want to see if this
for
concept
sure.
works
I
out
don't
in
think there's a
draft.
fairy type on this team, is there either? Um,
Yeah, there's
Uh,
no fairy.
yeah, so
not
that
without Terra, no.
could turn into a problem for Dragon spam. Obviously, you got King
Mm.
Gambit, who's a pretty good fairy Dragon
Yeah, but
Resist,
that's
but
it early.
still not immune to it. So I think that could turn out to be a problem. Luke, do you have any thoughts?
Yeah, nothing on here is really fast, but a lot of people on this, like King Gambit and Punk Elder and Rillaboom, get strong priority moves, so see that's a way to compensate. Um, yeah, honestly, if I were going up against this team, I'd just have some really good Sucker Puncher or Pursuit Trap that Mega Alakazam, and then just have a bunch of physical. And I feel like that could be a way to get around, I don't know, 7 really strong physical attackers and 1 Mega Alakazam, which is not necessarily known as the strongest, like the most offensive Pokemon at least.
Sure. Okay. Well, I feel like we've discussed this team enough. Unless anyone has any final thoughts, we can move on to the Florida
Final,
Fuecocos. Oh, sorry.
I do have a final thought. Another thing about the team is that it lacks pivoting, which is something you really want with slow, bulky mons. It's like your
Yeah,
pivots are Fortress, Rillaboom, Pangoro, Parting Shot. That's about it. Because I'm
yep,
pivoting dash.
that's true. So let's get back to it. So next up, we got the Florida Fuecocos. And there's Iron Valiant, Iron Treads, Hydreigon, Toxapex, Skeledirge, Hydrapple, Swellow, Copperajah, and Voltund on this team. Yeah, so Shadow, you can start us off again.
Mhm. So first impression is I guess I am like when I see two iron Pokemon, I'm like, oh, where's the uh electric terrain? But
For sure.
honestly, it's Valiant, it's Shreds. They don't really need it. Uh, One thing I do notice, because I really like Terra Hydrapple, I like Terra Swallow. I think they're both great. Another thing is that Hydrapple helps break down poisons and fairies for Iron Valiant, which is quite a nice combination. I think it's quite nice. Mm, Rapid Spin and Treads. Your hazard game is weak, I guess, because all you have is Rocks Hydreigon. You have Rocks Treads, but bringing Rocks and Spin on the same Pokemon is usually not that great. Uh, does Pex get Toxic Spikes?
Yes, it
I
does.
think so.
It does.
Yeah. So yeah, you have that, and that's about it, really.
Got Project gets rocks too.
But at the same time, I guess since most of your team can run, a lot of these mons can run heavy duty boots, like Pex, Dirt, Hydrapple. They don't mind running heavy duty boots, I suppose, but most of the time you rather run Rocky Helmet or Assault Vest. So having uh like when you're running a bulky team that looks like it's going to play slow, you would like to have good hazards and removal at the same time. That's how I feel.
For sure. Yeah.
Hmm.
Sorry. Are you? um, I
I
do
think that's
think
all.
there's a pretty big speed gap here between 98 and 66, which could end up being a problem. Like those base 80 mons. Like I don't know if Mamoswine is drafted, but or Rillaboom base 85 that are able to run Adamant Natures because they're not worried. And also Skeletor just never isn't usually running max speed. So that could be a problem because there's basically nothing below 98 that's threatening. Um, yeah, I think the hazards are all right if you're all right just setting rocks with treads and Hydreigon and running a lot of boots, like you said, because Iron Treads is the
Hmm.
only hazard removal. Um, yeah. James, do you have any thoughts?
Yeah. So this is definitely I kind of see the vision of this team for sure. The Toxapex, Skeletor, Hydrapple, Treads, even like Regenerator type core, where you slowly but surely whittle the opponent down, and then finally sweep with Valiant, or even like Treads or Skeletor or Dragon or something.
For sure.
But yeah, I see the vision here. I agree that the speed gap might be a bit of a problem. Uh, good, definitely like a very balanced team points wise too. Like only 2 Pokemon under 10 points is pretty good for sure. And like Swellow is terrifying. Terra Swellow is always scary because you can just show up and press Boom Burst or Facade with that base 125 speed, and a lot of times that's too much for teams. Yeah, definitely. I like this team a lot. I think these are some definitely good picks overall. I think this team meshes pretty well together.
Sure. How about you, Mess? Got any thoughts?
Um, Two things. One, with the exception of Toxapex, it's really not very specially defensive. I can see a
Sure.
special sweep from some Pokemon. And also, it's really ground weak, and both of the Terra Pokemon, Hydrapple and Swellow, are two of the three Pokemon that either resist or are immune to ground type Pokemon, and they may or may not Terra out of that or into another Terra type that is ground. So I could see some like Scarf Earthquake Sweeper uh, decimating this team, perhaps.
Sure.
Hmm.
Actually, now that I think about it, I might be a little bit scared of something like a Tapu Lele maybe into this team
Oh, I think
because,
Tapu Lele is good at every team, so.
well, I mean, yeah, but like, I feel like your only serious like your Dark type is Hydreigon, which is quad weak to Fairy. I feel like,
Yeah.
and
You gotta
also you've
have
got, I mean,
Treads.
Treads can do work, especially with like Assault Vest or something, but yeah, if like a fast psychic type gets in there and is
Hmm.
able to like take out Hydreigon, it can seriously do some serious damage
Mm.
to stuff like Toxapex or even like Skeledirge and Val.
Yeah, Side Spam would go crazy here.
I think you guys are
Hmm.
underrating Hydreigon. He's a heck of a guy. But also I was gonna say there are
I,
no spikes on this team, which
no
is so,
spikes.
yeah, as far as I know, none of those guys get spikes. But that's having Valiant with spikes is generally a better strategy, and also not having a second fairy type with Iron Valiant is going to make it a little tough because you generally aren't trying to pivot your Iron Valiant in early game to like a Draco Meteor, but especially if you're running Booster Energy.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, other than that, I guess Hydrapple can tear into a fairy type, but yeah,
Yeah.
that's about all my thoughts.
All right,
Anyone else have any final?
that's about it for me.
All right.
Now I'm good.
Let's move up. We have the close combatants um, with Spectre, Gallade Mega, Terapagos, Celesteela, Tinglu, Florges, Vileplume, Sharpedo, which can Terra, and Rapidash, and Tinglu can Terra as well. And also, just so if anyone's watching the video, just so you know, these are not Terapagos' stats that it will have while you're playing against it. Um, this is baby Terapagos stats, which maybe we should change in the sheet, but you know. Yeah. All right. So Shadow, you can start it out again. What do you think about this
All
team?
right. Well, first thought is this is not a combat draft, which is shocking, honestly. There's no Lele, there's no Chiyu, there's no Terra Vault, there's no Terra Swellow. Like, this is
Yeah.
not a combat draft for once. Wow. Okay, but that aside, I think this draft is very top heavy. Like you have 18, 17, 17, 16, 18 just right off the bat.
For
That's
sure.
insane to play into. And then Florges is alright. It just falls off from here. Valplume, there's angles, but I'd rather have it as Terra. Sharpedo is Sharpedo. It's very matchup fishy. And then you have Rapidash, which just exists. Speed tier wise, other than having nothing between 130 and your 110 being unable to run Choice Scarf, and then your Rapidash. So the speed tiers are quite weird because essentially you are 130, and then your next Scarfer is Sharpedo speed boost.
Yeah.
Mm,
I guess.
you have no Skull switch in. That's another thing. You don't like switching into water type moves.
Sure.
Tinglu will probably be Terra Water most games, from what I feel. Hmm. Hazards, hazards wise, you're fine. Tinglu always has good hazards, but I like to pair another rocker or spiker with it, because if you ever, because you don't want to run both on Tinglu. And your removal is only Terapagos, but sometimes it doesn't want to run spin, so it might be good to get something else that can remove hazards for you. Yeah.
For sure. Yeah, I think I actually am. I have a slightly higher opinion of Terapagos. I kind of think you don't even need other hazard removal, because either you're willing to run Terapagos with Rapid Spin, which is always really good, because even after the speed boost, Terapagos is really threatening, and also you can almost always get the spin off because of the Terra Shell ability. So I think Terapagos is pretty much all you need for hazard removal. And Tinglu obviously is a great hazard setter, but like you said, you probably want like one more rocker or spiker, so it doesn't have to carry all the load.
Mm-hmm.
I like Spectre paired with Tinglu a lot because you're getting the spike stacking in, so Spectre can come in and click Shadow Ball. Um, and you've obviously got the strong fighting type to pair with Spectre, so you basically have the two things that you need to have an effective Spectre team. You need a strong fighting type to take out those normal and dark types, and then a spike stacker so you can get everything in range. So I definitely like that. And pass it to James. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's definitely a scary team offensively with Spectre, Glade Mega, especially. And then on defense with like Celesteela, Terra Lu is crazy. Florges is one of my favorite Pokemon in draft. Um, I'm not. I guess Vileplume is pretty good, but I'm not like a super massive fan into these low tiers. I feel like yeah, Sharpedo is definitely pretty matchup dependent. I can see it working, especially with Terra, Rapidash. I've actually never seen before. Um, One thing I'm a little worried about is that Terrapagos doesn't have any reliable recovery, I don't think. Tinglu I know does not. Celesteela only has Leech Seed, which is good, but it's not like 50% on demand. Florges is your only defensive Pokemon with that super reliable recovery. So I'd be
Hey,
worried
don't
about like
diss on
especially in
strength
physical
sap from
attackers to
Vile.
Florges.
Problem is strength sap,
I
man.
mean, yeah,
Vileplume is
Vileplume could
great.
go crazy. This could be a crazy Vileplume season.
Terra
I
though.
would totally eat my words here, but yeah, no, I'd be worried about like getting slowly chipped out, and then something finishing you off late in the
For
game.
sure. Yep. How about you, Luke? What are you thinking?
Um, there's nothing honestly that I can say that hasn't already been said. Ting Lu is the king of all
Gotcha.
hazard setters, and his only backup is Terrapagos. It's also really good. Terrapagos is really the only
It is
spinner.
South Rock.
The only other Pokemon with removal is uh, Defog, or just
True.
which I don't know if you're gonna be
Oh, I
wanting
see.
to. Yeah, I didn't know either. Thank God for prep sheets. Um,
But it just does get
uh,
defog.
but yeah, Florida just gets defog. Not a lot of pivot either, so you're gonna be taking a lot of damage. Uh,
So true.
Unless I don't know, I guess Sharpedo might. I'm not necessarily sure,
I don't think
but
Sharpedo gets flip turn now.
Yeah.
I think
the
it's really
only
just
like
Florges
reliable,
baton passing. Yeah.
yeah, just be Florges and I guess maybe Rapidash baton passing. But other than that, you're hard switching into everything, which might
That's
not
true.
be great for Spectrier. Uh, that it's really frail and wants to get in safely.
I wonder
But
if it's a Florges wish pass angle on all the
Hmm.
switches.
it might be.
It's very wish reliant for
That's true.
sustenance.
Yeah.
And one more thing I'd like to bring up is that it's going to be difficult to bait out normal and dark types since they won't be switching into any of these in particular, I feel.
That is
So it's
true.
going to be hard to break them for Spectrier.
Definitely.
For sure, for sure.
All right. Well, I'm prepared to move on to
Yeah.
the Massachusetts Mudkips, who are already 1-0, so could be an easy pick if you want to say they're winning the championship. But their team consists of Mega Medicham, Galarian Darmanitan, Swampert, Moltres, Hisuian Gudra, Xurkitree, Tentacruel, Rabombi, Sinistra, Tauros, and Darkspawn. So, Shadow, you can start it out. What are you thinking?
All right. This team feels weird. Like, so you start off with Medicham and Darmanitan Galar, which are like two of the biggest physical hitters in the game, and like they're just hit really hard. All right. And then you have Swampert, slow pivoting, Moltres, slow pivoting, Gudra, I guess, is really bulky, and that's where it's like, but this is where it like starts to feel like it's falling off a bit. Like you only have two like big alarming Pokemon, and then you have the matchup Fisher Circuitry, and the rest feel like very bulky filler. Like Tauros and Darkspawn just exist, and you invested 9 points into those when you could have just gotten a 9 pointer. Uh, there's also the speed gap, Ribombi to Medicham, or and that's so 124 to 100 is huge.
Well, there's Tauros in the middle
Mm.
of that with 110.
Oh yeah, Tauros. Did forget. It's just it's a Tauros though, and I don't know if you're bringing Ribombi Tauros to a game, it feels unthreatening. Mm. But yeah, the thing about this team is once you get past the two physical threats, it just doesn't feel as scary. Hazards wise, it's your Swampert, Swampert rocks, but Swampert likes to run Assault Vest, so essentially you might run a lot of games without hazards. It really depends on your matchup. Tentacruel, Toxic Spike's always good. What do you think, Butts?
I actually am. I think we have slightly different opinions because I like this team. I think
Hmm.
so you got Moltres and you got Tentacool to remove hazards, which are both really good. And like you were saying, Tauros might not be threatening, but it does already have 2 kills. It did come out in
It
the
does,
first
it
game
does.
with some big body slams that I assume were Life Orb Sheer Force boosted. But because they were doing quite a bit of damage. I just think the pressure you put on with Medicham Mega and Darmanitan, you don't necessarily need the hazard chip on the other team. So like you said, you may be forced to run a lot of weeks without hazards, but since you can defog with Moltres and spin with Tentacruel, you don't necessarily need to, or you are able to play the game with no hazards on either side, and I think that's going to give this team an advantage if you do play that way. You also have Rabombi for sticky webs, which is definitely helpful for Medicham, since one of its biggest problems is that it doesn't outspeed everything, since it's only base 100. Um, I like Swampert, Moltres, Gudra, and Tentacruel as like a defensive backbone. Tentacruel and Swampert and Moltres can obviously all pivot because Tentacruel and Swampert have flip turn, Moltres has U-turn. Rabombi also has U-turn, but not as relevant. But so does Darmanitan and Galar, so you can pivot with almost everything. Circuitry can also Volt Switch. I like Circuitry as a Terra Captain. Because we allow hidden power in this league, I think that makes it really good. If you can Terra into your hidden power type. And also, if you can go, I guess you can't see Hypnosis in this, but you can definitely hit a Blunder Policy Hypnosis or Zap Cannon to boost your speed, and then use Tail Glow. So I like the team. And the speed tiers, they pretty much cover everything that you'd want covered. Um, Albeit you do have a ton of Pokemon, so that makes sense. And you can't bring everyone every week,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah. James, I'll pass it to you.
Yeah, this team is definitely very interesting because you have Medicham Mega, which can sweep with either with like that sticky web support or if it uses I think it gets Trailblaze
It does
or
get
something like that, get
Trailblaze,
that
that's
speed
correct.
boosted.
Yeah, it does get Trailblaze.
You can start to break through teams. Dominican Dan Galler, is actually Terra, which is pretty terrifying.
For sure.
Because you can do both that like choice band or choice scarf set. You can do choice band if your opponent's team is super slow, or you can like go the Salak substitute belly drum set and try and sweep from there if your opponent doesn't have great priority. So it's definitely it kind of seems one-dimensional on paper, but it's definitely a Pokemon of many talents. I like Swampert Moltres defensive core. Not a whole ton of reliable recovery that I can see. Just Moltres, I think, unless I'm missing something. Terra Circuitry, kind of a lot like Regieleki, where that Terra is really, really nice on it. I like the low tier usage, especially Rabombi. Sinistra's pretty good. I've seen a couple Sinistra sweeps before. Tauros obviously already has 2 kills, so it's already putting in work. So, yeah, I do kind of agree with you, Shadow, that, yeah, after Mega Metachan or Manatan and kind of Circuitry, I don't see anything that's actively I'm terrified. I'm super, super prepping for these Pokemon. But,
Mhm.
but yeah, I think this team is pretty solid overall.
All right, and Luke, do you have any final thoughts?
A little worried that you're probably gonna be bringing Tentacruel as a dedicated spinner, since the other two Pokemon with hazard removal are Moltres and Rabombi, which don't like rocks.
And
You
Moltres
only
can be.
have, yeah, with boots. I agree, but then you're giving it boots, which I don't know.
-1 item.
-1 item, exactly. Um, your only two Pokemon that can set up hazards are Swampert and Ribombee with Stealth Rock and Sticky Webs, respectively. Oh, also, there's Toxic Spikes with Tentacle, but I don't know when you're going to bring that. I will say this team is relatively ghost weak, with the exception of Tauros, which done a great job so far.
That's a really good point.
You For most games, I'd be really scared of a choice band, choice specs, ghost type. I know Galarian Darmanitan's on the team, but if somehow, some way, uh, someone kills it, uh, you're pretty susceptible for a Dragapult choice specs. Shadow Ball just kind of nukes just about everything. So that's just one thing to be aware of that might be an issue. Uh, Other than that, a lot of fun tools that I think probably serve you well.
Yeah, you can get very creative with this team. There's a lot of different sets you can bring.
Yeah,
For
it's one of
sure.
those things where it's not the top 6 that are coming every time. It's probably only the top about 3, maybe 4.
Okay. Well, I do think that was actually a good shout out that there is no dark type on this team. So definitely something to watch out for. Can get Shadow Ball spammed, but I think we can move on to the Philadelphia Porygon Z's. And let's see, it's Latias Mega, Tapu Koko, Sneasler, Ogerpon, Wellspring, Iron Crown, Stakataka, Pillow-Swine, Sableye, Kangaskhan, and Pinsir. So, Shadow, do you want to start off again? What do you think about this team?
Yep. So this team is very top heavy. It's not a top heavy team with low tier utility mods. I think that's a pattern we've been noticing with all these teams. You have your top tier heavy hitters and then your low tier utility. Uh, you have fast encore with Ogerpon. So utility wise, I guess you're always bringing top 5 plus low tier Pokemon with your selected utility for the game,
For sure.
which is interesting, I suppose, because then you keep your opponent guessing, oh, what's the utility that's coming this game? Is it going to be a Stakataka revenge kill, or is it gonna be just a simple rocks, or it could even just be Sableye here to throw status around. So I think that does bring an element of uncertainty to your opponents.
Absolutely.
Terra Captains, Iron Crown, Stakataka, both are nice. I think they're both solid Terra Captains. I was destroyed by Terra Stakataka last season, so I'm excited to see it again this season. also being able to Terra your steel type and still have a steel type is just a nice thing to have defensively. The teams will struggle when you say you want to bring two kinds of utility. Like say you want to spread status with Sableye, but you also want to set hazards with, say, you want to set rocks with Piloswine, then you have to bring two of your low tiers and four top tiers, which is quite detrimental. So that's one downside I can foresee this team. Unless you bring Spike's Ogerpon, which is four move slot syndrome for Ogerpon, because there are a multitude of better moves you can bring. Yeah, what do you think, Butts?
Uh, yeah, I do see a lot of the same vulnerabilities that you're saying. Like bringing rocks has to either come on Stack Attacka, which isn't, in my opinion, like the best use of it since it is a pretty good offensive threat. So if you're using it to set rocks, you're kind of missing out. Or you have to bring Pillow Swine, which is obviously one of the lower tiers, to set rocks, since those are only two options. And like you said, Spikes on Ogerpon, not always the best idea. I think it is sometimes a good slot, and it's definitely going to have to be used for this team to be effective. Much like the last team we looked at, the only Ghost Resist is Kangaskhan, which I don't know how much you want to be bringing a base form Kangaskhan. And so a strong Shadow Ball could definitely run this team over if Iron Crown doesn't have an appropriate Terra. The speed tiers here, it depends on how much you're afraid of Kangaskhan and Pinsir, but if you overlook those two, then anything below base 98 can just run an Adamant or a Modest Nature, because Stack Attack is obviously sitting there at 13, and then Piloswine and Sableye at 50. And yeah, so I do think that could become a problem, and I think the fact that there is no hazards, while there is hazard removal with Latias and Tapu Koko having defog, Tapu Koko having defog is a little, it's not the greatest because you're defogging away your own terrain post Gen 7, and yeah, Latias doesn't always want to run defog, especially if you're running a setup set, so that could end up being a problem. The hazard setting and the hazard removal I could see being a problem, and also the lack of a ghost resist, but I will pass it to James. What are your thoughts?
This is definitely a very scary top six. Like Coco into Sneasler into Ogerpon and especially
for
the third
sure.
Iron Crown is crazy and is gonna be definitely the bulk of the offense. But also, I'm definitely a little worried about those lower tiers for sure. I think Piloswine and Sableye definitely bring really good utility, but Kangaskhan and Pinsir, realistically, you could, because they have 10 Pokemon, you could realistically fold, like in transactions, get those two guys out of there and replace it with a 5-point Pokemon that has maybe a little more utility, or because I'm not super threatened by either Kangaskhan or Pinsir a whole lot. I definitely, I've never historically been the highest on Latias Mega, but it has a ton of support on this team, so I'm excited to see how that ends up. But yeah, that's about it.
All right, Luke, got anything?
Not really too much new stuff. I'd be concerned for hazards, because foggers are a Pokemon that doesn't want to use defog and a Pokemon that sometimes doesn't want to run defog. Uh, in addition to not being very good against ghost types, I would also say, with the exception of like Tapu Koko and Sneasler, which is not necessarily a very defensive Pokemon, are also really weak to Dark, which is debatably worse for you, uh, with like strong sucker punches. Other
Oh no.
Oops.
uh,
My bad.
You're good.
um, yeah, I would suggest maybe folding Kangaskhan and Pinsir into a stronger 5-point Dark type Pokemon. Maybe I don't necessarily know, because once again, Sableye is uh, not necessarily gonna help you that much in terms of stopping ghosts, especially with Dark blocking most prankster moves. Um, yeah, Stack Attacker as your stealth rocker is interesting, but it is Terra, so I
Sure.
see the vision at the very least. So I don't know.
All right.
Mm,
So,
Not,
sorry.
nothing I'd like to point out is that the team, other than Sneasler and Crown, doesn't really make use of electric terrain. So that's another thing
That is true.
if
It's
you
true,
want to make
definitely.
trades.
Yeah.
Overall, they're not
Um,
bad though.
I will also say, I'm pretty sure electric terrain would wake a sleeping like a sleep induced by dire claw. So that's also like.
Well, it would just prevent the sleep
Uh,
induced by
Yeah, it
Direclaw.
just
It doesn't wake
prevents.
him up.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
Never mind then.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Well, let's move on to the Plagiarist Guardians. With a team of Dragapult, Zapdos, Blaziken, Ferrothorn, Alomola, Hatterene, Zygarde 10%, which both those two can Terra, Drapion, and Smeargle. So, Shadow, you can start us off. What are your thoughts?
hmm So Dragapult, you have Dragapult. That's
Coded.
you should be winning more games, I guess. It's Dragapult,
The show.
but I don't really see Dragapult support pieces that much.
Hmm.
Like you drafted Dragapult, but then you didn't really draft around it. Your only fairy switch in is Ferrothorn, but most fairy types have some way to get around it. Like a lot of them have Mystical Fire, thinking say Sylveon, Enamorous have Mystical Fire, or they just have random coverage moves that can hit Ferrothorn, like a Focus Blast. And after that, it's just uh gonna people are gonna Moonblast through your team.
That is true.
Uh, and then let's say you've Dragapult, you want to be breaking fairies, and dark types and steels, I suppose. For Blaziken, you want to be breaking water types, but Zapdos and Ferrothorn, which will be your main water switch-ins, don't really break them since Zapdos doesn't resist water, and you'll be bringing U-turn to most games, I feel, because ground types exist. You set hazards pretty fine. Zapdos is alright as a defogger, but your Terra Captains, I feel, are very middling. Uh, though I don't really know. Do we allow Terra Blaziken?
I'd have no clue. Let me go check on
No, it's
our
banned.
setting.
It's illegal.
Ah, this is a, this is
Unfortunate.
the NFL, the No Fun League.
Wait, the Terra Captains, they're like mid. They're all right, but they're mid. Overall, the team, it just feels like it lacks synergy. Like I can't put a finger on it, but there's some sort of synergy that it is lacking.
See,
Uh,
I think the team, it's a lot of Pokemon that I like using. Like of your top guys, Dragapult, Zapdos, Blaziken can all pivot. So can Alomomola. Hatterene has Baton Pass. So it's like just Ferrothorn who can't. Zygarde obviously can't either. I personally like Zygarde 10% as a Terra Captain. I think you've got both the Terra Normal Extreme Speed option, then you've also got Terra Ground Thousand Arrows, which obviously gets
mhm.
around the main problem with ground type moves, which is that they're resisted by flying type, or they're immune. Flying types are immune to them, but not immune to Thousand Arrows. Um, so I actually kind of like that. I think you got Zapdos to defog and Hatterene to bounce back hazards. And between those two, I think you're fine on hazard removal. I think Ferrothorn is a great hazard setter, and then you also have Smeargle if you really need to set hazards. So I guess your hazard setting could be a little limited, but you can almost always get rocks up, I think, if you've got a Ferrothorn. And if you're really good with Hatterene, you can get up every hazard you need by bouncing them back. I would say I I
Mhm.
think that you're right about Hatterene being kind of a mid Terra Captain. It's nice to have the option, I guess, but I think when I had it as my Terra Captain, I didn't terrestrialize it once. Um, at the beginning of the season, I was like, "Oh, this is going to be great," and then it just wasn't really a good option. I do like Zygarde because of the options I mentioned, and Dragapult I think just brings every team up. Yeah, so those would be my thoughts. I like the pivoting, I like the hazard removal, and I think the hazard setting's all right, and I like the offense too from Dragapult and Blaziken and Zygarde. James, what do you think?
My thoughts, yeah, I'm not a super big fan of the Terra Caps for sure. I was noticing that Hatterene kind of really likes its psychic fairy typing, and so removing it might be good in like some situations, but I feel like you'd rather have it most of the time. Zygarde, I like 1,000 arrows. You're fast. You could run like Choice Band or like Terra Normal Extreme Speed or something like that.
For sure.
Smeargle is obviously not my favorite Pokemon to prep, or honestly anyone's favorite Pokemon to prep and play against, but definitely good utility. Can do literally anything. Um, Ferrothorn and Alomola have good synergy together because Alomola can wish and make up for Ferrothorn's lack of recovery outside of Leech Seed, and Ferrothorn can take those grass and electric type moves that Alomola does not want to eat. Blaziken, I'm not a massive fan of in draft. I feel like it's relatively easy to shut down, but played well, I think can do a lot of things. Um, Dragapult. Obviously, Dragapult's good. Dragapult's like the best Pokemon in draft, but yeah, I don't see anything that like works super duper insanely well with Dragapult outside of like, oh, I'm gonna U-turn into this defensive option. Um, Nothing. I guess you can set up screens for like your Blaziken, or you can like, I guess drop Dracos with choice specs or Dragon Ants up or something like that. But there's nothing that's like works crazy well with it.
Luke, do you have any thoughts?
Between Ferrothorn and Smeargle, your bases are all covered when it comes to hazards. I would be a little worried about your defoggers between Zapdos and Blaziken because uh, there's no rabbit spinners, and both of those Pokemon want to run a lot of boots if they're going to get designated hazard removal, which is like not really great because Zapdos really wants active leftovers, and I could definitely see you running Choice Band or something along the lines on Blaziken. Uh, you are really weak to Fairy, with the exception of Ferrothorn. You are really weak to Ground, with the exception of Zapdos, and you are relatively weak to Ice when it comes to, with the exception of Alomola and Blaziken, which between the three, I'd be least worried about Ice, since Blaziken kind of hard counters most strong. Um, but I would be a little worried about Ground and uh, Fairy, especially Ground, since your one ground resist is an electric, and it doesn't really have much to hit that on ground types other than like a HP Ice or a
I hit that
what's
hurricane.
strong. I guess Hurricane, yeah. But
All
I don't know.
right.
That's my synopsis.
Sounds good to me. Yeah, I think the speed tiers look alright on this too. And if no one else has anything, I'm ready to move on
I
to
actually have
this.
one more thing.
Oh, of course you
I
do.
think it's I think it's funny that it is the plagiarist Guardians, and you got a couple of butts staples. You got the Alomola. You've got the Hatterene. Aside from Zapdos, Hatterene is the only hazard removal,
Yeah,
which is
Hatterene
he's
it's a
on a
pretty
high
funny
roll.
trend to see.
That's that's me coded.
Yeah, I think it's a pretty funny team concept.
Yeah, I like it.
Fun ones, but just eh.
Okay. Alright, let's move on to the San Diego Soul Rocks. Meowscarada, Mega Diancie, Galarian Zapdos, Heatran, Slowking, Donphin, Noivern, and Arctozote, Hookintera, and a Haunter. So we'll start out with Shadow. What are your thoughts?
All right. First impression of this team is I see Zapdos, Galarian, Heatran, and then I see Terra, Noivern, and Arctozolt, and I'm like, why did you Terra the Heatran and the Zapdos Galar? Like, I just feel like those are way better Terra captains.
For sure.
I can see the vision of Terra Noivern. I suppose Terra Normal Boomers is a drug. Uh, but you throw a boom burst at them and they switch into their ghost type. What is your switch in now? Masquerade doesn't like getting hit. Heat Ran will probably take a lot of damage. Maybe Heat Ran is very bulky, so maybe it won't take too much. I think Arctazol's solid, but I don't like it as Terra. I think at least transfer one of these to something. Pivoting wise, this team has a lot of nice pivots. Masquerade has a great pivot. Zapdos Galar is a classic. You have Northern U-turn. You have Slowking Chili Reception. Um, your hazards are fine, really. Not sure if any of these get spikes though. Maybe Donphan gets spikes. I'm not
It
sure.
does not. Meowscarada is the
Both
Yeah,
only spike one.
all right. Masquerade
Yansey
does.
and Meowscarada, yeah.
Yeah. So hazards on the hazards front, you're pretty fine, really.
For sure.
Especially with Donphan as a solid spinner, Mega Dancy as a magic bounce. Looking at it, I do like Masquerada and Slowking. They do have some sort of synergy similar to Masquerada Keldeo, which is getting popular. Yeah, that's all I have for now. On to you, Butts.
Yeah, I honestly think so. Think it looks pretty good. Um, I do agree that Heatran would be better served with the Terra than like Noivern. Heatran and Zapdos would be a better pair of Terra captains than Noivern and Arctozolt. I do agree with that. Um, Other than that, yeah, I mean, I think it actually looks pretty solid. I like the team. The speed tiers look fine. Like
True.
you said, the hazards are great. I don't know how often you're gonna bring Haunter, but maybe. Yeah, James, pass to you.
Yeah. This team is definitely good. It's got a lot of fast threats. Meowscarada is definitely, and honestly, Zapdos Galar and Noivern are good pivots. I agree with Terra Captain situation. Unless like you don't have enough points to run Terra on like
That might be
Heatran
true.
or on Zapdos. I think there's definitely better Pokemon to run your Terra on than Noivern and Arctozolt. Arctozolt, honestly, I don't see coming a lot just because you're kind of if you're running Arctozolt, you kind of have to run it out of Chili Reception, and that's sometimes hard to set
True.
up, especially if your opponent knows that you're playing for that. Um, yeah, I like all well. Honestly, there isn't a whole lot of Keytran support. I saw Zapdos, but like Meowscarada doesn't want to eat an Earthquake, and Diance's weak. Slowking, Donphan are neutral. Arctozolt is weak without Terra. Yeah, I'm a little worried about ground types coming into this team. But aside from that, I definitely I like the style of offense going on here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just sorry, Luke, I'll let you go, but just one comment on the ground type thing. I do think it's not that big of a deal because you got Donphan, who obviously doesn't resist it, but it does have gigantic physical
Yeah.
defense. You've got two
That's
flying
true.
types, and then Meowscarada,
Mm-hmm.
while it can't take a ton of hits, you also have Haunter, who's levitating for what it's
Does
worth.
have Haunter.
So you
Though
got
you
three
do
people
like
in.
yeah.
So
Though you do like grounded poison, so
there, that is
tough
true.
spike's definitely a bane. A bane into Slowking, Donphan, Diancie.
Yeah,
Uh
but by the same token, Zapdos, Heatran don't get affected by it. And if you can play Diancie well enough, you can avoid getting toxic spikes out, I think. But or Luke, do you have a
Yeah. Grounded poison, once again, not it's something that you generally want to have on all teams. Although I will say with your level of hazard removal, it might not be that bad. I don't think anybody drafted Glamora, so nobody's like
true?
getting toxic spikes on you for free. Um, once again, really Ghost Week. Your only resist is Meowscarada, which as a Protean will not always be a Dark type. Um, uh, Pretty Rock Week, but once again, great removal. so that shouldn't be too bad. Uh, One word of warning though, as somebody who's used an Arc Result to win a GNDL title, albeit third flight, um, Arc Result does not have Terra Blast, and does not want to run Hidden Power, so you're kind of stuck
It
with
can't. It doesn't
the
get hidden power.
physical. That too. I knew I never ran it like that. Anyway, uh, it's physical anyway, so it's not really gonna run it. So
True.
you're kind of left with your physical moves, which mostly consist of Stomping Tantrum, Bolt Beak, and Icicle Crash. So most 9 times out of 10, you're probably gonna run a Terra to boost one of those three. Uh, so just be aware, it's not necessarily the best Terra Captain, but I've used it to win a championship, so take that with a grain of salt, I guess.
All right. Oh, anyone else have any final thoughts on these soul rocks? All right, we can move on to the league fan. Oh, it seems like we got some accidental highlighting going on down here. But anyway, we got the league founder, Tony, and the St. Louis Starfall, which has Golden Go, Vision Terra, Cinderace, Rotom Wash, Manaphy, Ninetales Alola, Nidoking, Breloom, Lokix, and Shuckle. So, Shadow, you can start us off again. What are you thinking
Yep.
on this team?
So when I see Ninetales Alola, I think of setup, but here there aren't any particularly terrifying setup Pokemon. I don't see any like agility swords dance. I don't see any dragon dancers. It's really just uh, what you have Goldango Nasty Plot. You have Cinderace Swords Dance. Breloom Swords Dance. Lokix Swords Dance. Granted, Lokix doesn't really like Swords Dance that much, honestly. So, oh, and Manaphy Telglow, and we legalized Take Heart, right?
Yeah, take Heart's legal.
Yeah, so I suppose there is something scary there with Manaphy Ninetales Shuckle, which is your classic Gen 9 OU Webs Manaphy Ninetales.
Sure.
So I guess that'll be the main thing that people would look out for on your team.
Yeah.
Um, this team is quite Ghost weak. Low kicks doesn't like taking hits. Shuckle will die fast. And in fact, this team doesn't have that much bulk at all, honestly.
Sure.
Your bulkier Pokemon are Goldango and Shuckle, and maybe Ninetales.
Rotom's
Rotom Wash
yeah,
is also bulky, but it's more of a pivot.
so true.
Uh, because it's like with 50 base HP, Goldango is essentially bulkier than it. You're going to
True.
have to play really fast pace with this team because late game you'll lose a lot of steam. You'll die to. I mean, you won't lose the priority that easily because you have priority yourself. But
True.
that is something to look out for once your team gets shipped really fast. Cinderace Court Change. People tend to not bring hazards into Cinderace Court Change, so that's a good way to deter hazards, especially with your hazard removal being Rotom Wash. Um, Overall, I think the team is it's it's fine. It's a fine team, but I would play to break it really fast. Um, yeah. On to you, Butts.
Yep. Okay. So one thing about like the Cinderace, you saying no one brings hazards into it. I am one of the guilty people who never brings hazards into Cinderace, but I do think there's a little negative synergy with Cinderace and Ninetales, since you will be changing your own screens over if you have them up while trying to court change. Um, but I also kind of get you want Cinderace on your team so no one else can use it against you, because the team's plan seems to be to set up hazards and a screen, which would be disastrous if it got court changed to the other side.
Yeah.
But aside from that, I think the speed tiers look pretty good. You've got Shuckle to set a bunch of hazards, and Nidoking also sets rocks, but not much else. I think
Mm-hmm.
you might be lacking in the immediate power section outside of like Golden Go, because Breloom obviously does have 130 attack, but um, I don't know. I don't usually think of the grass fighting type as the most threatening person ever. But I guess with close combat, it got in Gen 9, it is better. But yeah, the point of the team is to set up, I guess. Yeah, it looks fine. I don't have any major complaints with it. James, how about
Mhm.
you?
Yeah, I think this team is pretty interesting. I do think that Ninetales and Cinderace kind of you aren't gonna try and court change a ton if you have that Aurora Veil up, because then you're just giving your opponent free Aurora Veil. But aside from that, I like this team a lot. Goldengo, Terra Goldengo, and Shuckle, pretty good combo. Goldengo can use Rock Polish and Nasty Plot, and using that Terra, I can maybe like Terra defensively and get a free turn, and then with that and Aurora Veil can give it the space it needs to set up. I'm a little worried about recovery on this team because you have I Goldengo recover and you have
True.
Rotom Wash Pain Split, and I believe there's nothing else super crazy. So I'd be worried about getting like
True.
chip down if hazards get up on your side, especially. I mean, you'll be running boots on Cinderace most of the time, anyways. But like on stuff like your Rotom Wash or your Manaphy, be a little worrying getting like slowly chipped out of the game. But aside from that, yeah, I think this team is pretty cool.
All right. Well, Luke, how about you?
Um, yeah, you don't really want to. You're not really gonna court change much with a Ninetales Aurora Veil, but I will say, Banded Cinderace is a drug, and I am a user. Uh, yeah, not a lot of. Other than that, though, might be a little scary. Pretty fighting weak, with the exception of Goldengo, which will most likely Terra. You could Terra Ghost, but Terra isn't something that's weak to fighting. It could be a problem.
All right. Well,
This is one of the draft like Secret Santa type
yes, that is true.
things, right? This is Jonah's
Yep,
Johto
I think
team.
BKS drafted
Oh,
this.
I remember there's definitely not. I'm
Ah,
excited to see how Tony operates this because it isn't a very Tony team. Like
It
there
is.
isn't
yeah.
the Hydrapple Molicore that we've all come to know and love.
He do
But
be like.
I am excited, yeah, to see how he operates this, especially with like the limited recovery as opposed to what he's normally used to, and also with like the stuff like Breloom and low kicks and even like the Goldengo, the super offensive team as opposed to something more balance wise.
For sure.
Feels
Okay.
very Gen 7.
out of curiosity, did Tony make the Florida Flacocos team? Are they
He
also
did not.
Secret Santa?
No.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay. Because that
that
looks
is
like a
that
team
is a
you
very
made.
Tony team.
I don't know who Tony be drafting. All right. You guys ready to move on to the big guys with
The big
Ursh
guys.
Urshifu Single Strike, Slowking Galar, Salamence, Clefable, Hook and Terra, Thundurus, Zoroark, Blastoise, Orthworm, and Wo Chien, which did just come out shiny. Shadow, you can start.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so uh let's see. I suppose you have the start. To start off, you have the strong core of Urshifu and Slowking Galar, where you can just fusion side and pivot into Urshifu, and now it's very threatening because you will probably get one kill. And as you can see, Urshifu already has 3 kills,
Okay.
so it appears to work. Terra Captains, Salamence, Clefable, both really solid. Clefable, your hazards, you have Clefable, Orthworm, T-Spike, Slowking, so that's nice. Prankster default Thunderous means most of the time you will almost always get your hazards. Remove, uh, you can remove hazards easily. Overall, the team looks pretty solid. I can't really complain about anything.
Yeah.
I suppose you don't have a ground type. That's the main gripe. It's very easy to vault switch out of your team, which is why you have to bring Terra Ground Clefable to your week 1. But
For
yeah, that's the
sure.
main thing, really. Overall, it looks solid, honestly.
Yeah. I think
Down to you,
offensively it
Butts.
looks great. I think Urshifu, very strong physical attacker. Thunderous is obviously such a strong special attacker, got banned in Gen 5. Salamence can be either physical or special, especially with the Terra helping it out. And Clefable is obviously another good special attacker and great defensive mon. Slowking Clefable, great defensive backbone. You got Rocks on Clefable, Toxic Spikes on Slowking. And yeah, like you said, both hazards on Earthworm. I do think not having a ground type is like a serious flaw and definitely something that will have to be either filled in by a Terra Captain every week or it's going to have to be fixed through transactions if the team wants to have like high level success. But overall, I think I like a lot of the pieces on the team, and I think the low tiers are also good. I think Blastoise is a great sweeper, especially if the other team isn't prepared for it. Orthworm, great hazard setter and ground immunity, and then Wo-Chan also Wo-Chan is bringable, I guess. But pass it over to James.
All right. I do like this team a lot. I think this is a good. This team definitely makes use of like good speed stats. Actually, that's something I can talk about in a second. But I like the defensive options in Clefable. I like Blastoise, the rapid spinner, and it could do like actual attack offensive stuff as well. Orthworm is good. Low tier. Wo-Chien is pretty decent. Um, Thunderous Prankster is definitely really good to shut stuff down with that Prankster Thunder Wave. Um, Salamence is a force to be reckoned with. You just press Dragon Dance and do pretty much whatever you want. Urshifu's good. Scarf or Band or any one of 50 million sets. Um, Nothing really takes a whole ton of advantage of the snow that Slowking Galar gives. There's no ice. There's no serious ice types on this team without Terra, and obviously nothing with Slush Rush. My one worry, I mentioned it earlier, that other than Thunderous at base 111, there's nothing super fast on this team. So stuff like Dragapult or like even like base 125 stuff will be kind of scary. Like
Yeah,
Weavile or something. I do, yeah, nothing. Having no ground type is definitely a really big flaw. But honestly, yeah, like through transactions, it's definitely something that can be mitigated. But yeah, other than that, I definitely like this team a lot.
for sure. How about you, Luke? What are you thinking?
Off rip, scary team. I like how Zorwart can fill in for Clefable or Slowking and make it seem like it's a much more offensive set than it really might be. Especially since it gets a lot of shared moves with both of them. Shadow Ball, one of them. Uh, could catch a lot of the Ghost Weak teams for a surprise. Um, Relatively weak to Electric. Um, I definitely would say pick up a ground type if that hasn't been said already. Uh, could be weak to Side Spam if Urshifu goes down, maybe. And if Wo-Chien isn't brought. Uh, Other than that, really see big giant uh, flaws in this team. Uh, yeah.
Sounds good then. Okay, well, we can move on to um, the Turtwig Terrors. So, two more teams. This is the only last real team. The last one's kind of just a fake team, coached
Yeah,
by a clown. I don't know who.
worst
Mm-hmm.
draft of all time.
Probably the worst draft of all time. Not this one, but the next team is probably the worst draft league team
Yeah,
in
for sure.
history.
True.
But this one we've got Great Tusk, Terra Greninja, Mega Charizard Y, Raging Bolt, Corviknight, Amoonguss, Comfey, Oricorio, and Dusclops. Okay, so Shadow, you can start out. What are your thoughts?
All right. So I feel like this is a case of believing that Mega Charizard Y is a sunsetter. It is not a sunsetter. You will not get the sun for Tusk or Bolt that much. Another thing is that with the sun up, Greninja is relatively weaker. So I guess I'm focusing a bit on the sun though. Uh, as a team, I feel like Terra Greninja, amazing. This mon is probably one of the best Terra captains out there.
For sure.
Being able to get a sniper kill battle bond and set up instantly, you don't waste any turns setting up. You just grab a kill and boom, you just get +1 in your stats. Oricorio is supposedly it's a nice side Terra captain, but it's also an obvious bring that like, oh, you brought the Oricorio, it is going to Terra this game.
Right.
Defensively, Dusclops very cheap, but actually decent defensive Pokemon. Comfey has good utility. Amoonguss is Amoonguss. Everyone knows what it does. It's how prepared you are for it. And then you have Corviknight. This team maybe it'll struggle against fire, though I suppose you have Raging Bolt. Uh, if there's Rocks up, Megazord Y does not want to switch in. Greninja doesn't like switching in, rather have it as a revenge killer. So I suppose fire types might be something you might have to watch out for since your bulky water is like Raging Bolt in that kind of sense. But yeah, closing thought, it's not a real Sun team. I hope you're not trying to build Sun here, but I don't see any Chlorophyll Pokemon, so I suppose it's not supposed to be Sun. Hopefully. What do you think, Butts?
Yeah, I think this is an appropriate use of Charizard Y's Sun, because like you said, it's not going to be up for that long. It mostly sets the sun for itself. But you can still get like 1 or 2 photosynthesis turns in, I think, from Rage Bolt and Great Tusk if you switch them in. If Charizard's in for 2 turns, clicks 2 Weather Balls, and then switches into Tusk, you've still got 3 turns of photosynthesis left. So actually, I think the photosynthesis mons, like obviously, if you play a lot of Natdex OU, they've made Charizard Y way better if you compare him with Tusk. Because Great Tusk
Yeah.
obviously get the hazards off and gets the boost from photosynthesis. I actually really like it. I did use a Sun team with some of the similar elements here of Charizard Y, Raging Bolt, and Great Tusk a couple seasons ago. Like hazards wise, you got the rocks on Tusk and literally nothing else, right? I'm not missing. Oh, I guess Spike's on Greninja, but with Terra
Yeah.
Greninja, I think you're gonna want that thing to be your late game cleaner, not as much your spike
Mhm.
setter, but you still could run spikes on it. But your only rocker being Tusk is definitely not good, I don't think. And then you've got pretty good hazard removal though with Comfey, Oricorio, Corviknight, and Great Tusk. The Corviknight and Great Tusk, two of the best hazard removals in the game. Um, so I think removal, you're all right. Physical offense is like only coming from Great Tusk, which probably isn't going to be a good thing. Like you got Charizard Y, Raging Bolt, and Greninja, who are all strong special attackers, and Oricorio to some extent, and also Comfey to some extent if it's set up. But Great Tusk is literally the only physical attacker that I see on this team, unless you're running Dragon Dance Charizard for some reason. So I do think definitely some flaws here, but overall, I think if you can clip Weather Ball a lot, this team can be good. James, how about you?
Yeah, I honestly like this team a lot. I like what this team is doing with Sun. I think it's not really a Sun team as much as like a team that Sun supplements. I
Sure.
feel like Great Tusk, Raging Bolt, they can both do their thing without the photosynthesis boost. They don't need it to function. Terra Ninja is interesting, very, very interesting, especially in the context of Sun, because it doesn't really need its water stab as much. You can get another stab from that Terra, which is pretty exciting. Amoonguss, obviously, the world's biggest team build check. Comfy is terrifying. Triage is the world's most broken ability that no one ever talks about. Oricorio is good. Second Terra Cap's good on offense. Can Quiver Dance, can steal a Dragon Dance or something. Very, very, very good at the Volcarona matchup. In case that ever happens. And Dusclops, honestly, I'm surprised Dusclops is a 2-pointer. Dusclops is such a good defensive Pokemon for that value. So I think this team is good. Obviously, well, no team is perfect, but I like it a lot. I'm excited to see that Terra Greninja and stuff like Corviknight and Amoonguss in Sun. I want to see how that turns out. I'm kind of a little bit worried about. I mean, Great Tusk obviously is an amazing hazard remover, but if Great Tusk goes down to like a prediction or something, you have Corviknight and sort of Oricorio, and that's it. So I'm a little bit worried about hazard removal just because Charizard really, really, really needs those rocks off. So, yeah, no, bad phrasing. But anyways, yeah, I like this team a lot. I'm excited to see how it goes.
All right, how about you, Luke?
Yeah, I would agree that this team is only as good as its worst great because really is the thing that's kind of holding everything together. With the exception of Great Tusk, relatively uh, uh, electric weak. Um, also pretty ice weak, uh, and also really rock weak. So you need to be extra vigilant on getting those stealth rocks out of there, uh, which may or may not be what Tusk's job. So once that kind of goes down, and if rocks go up, you're kind of fighting a losing battle there. And yeah, I also Tusk is the only really good. So I'd pick up another one maybe. But other than that, it's not bad.
All right. Anyone have any closing remarks or moving on?
Not really. The team is just very
Alright.
strong. It's very powerful.
For
It's
sure.
all right.
All right. Now let's move on to a joke draft, honestly.
Yeah,
Coaches
it's
should be
fake.
ashamed of themselves.
What is he even doing?
Palafin, Iron Moth, Thunderous Therian, Ogerpon Cornerstone, Mandibuzz, Mega Sableye, Tinkaton, Gastrodon, Brambleghast. I mean, just a bunch of
What?
losers. Shadow, you can start. I mean, who even drafted
Like,
this?
right? Yeah, you can see there was a attempt at a water, fire, grass core with Palafin, Moth, Cornerstone, but Cornerstone's a rock type. You're never gonna use a grass move on this guy. You just want to click Rock Ivy Cudgel. So where's your grass type? Bramblegast? um, in all seriousness, your speed tiers are kind of lacking here. 110 being your fastest means you are going to be very scared of everything above that, especially with Choice Scarf like Booster Valiant. Um, you do have priority, I suppose, in Palafin, and that's all. Uh, the uh, your defense. I feel like the defensive pieces feel weird. Like you have Mandibuzz, Sableye. These two, I don't really like their pairing because they both essentially wall similar things. Tinkaton is not exactly a wall. It just takes a few hits, but eventually falls is more of a utility Pokemon. Uh, Gastrodon's fine. I like Gastrodon. I think Gastrodon has its moments. Uh,
For sure.
but yeah, this team, it's quite like you can throw fairy moves at this team. Moth I suppose it's a Moth. You can hit Moth and Tinkerton with easy ground coverage. Like, so which makes it so you might be bringing Air Balloon quite often. I actually want to hear what Dalek has in mind when he drafted this.
Your
Jalek?
team. Let's hear it.
I
I
I
was
can hear him
muted.
talking.
Wait.
So yeah, I had the second pick in the draft, and I was like, I'm gonna go for Dragapult, and if I don't get Dragapult, Palafin. And I got sniped round 1, so I went for Palafin. Old Reliable, Iron Moth, and Thunderous Therian, Ogerpon Cornerstone are there to fill in a lot of the gaps that Palafin has. With that, Thunderous can take over like electric moves. Moth can maybe eat a grass move or two. Um, I'm excited to play use Thunderous Therian Terra and Ogerpon Terra. Palafin Thunderous Therian was kind of a different. I was gonna use Terra Jolteon again because I used Palafin Terra Jolteon last season and it had a pretty good amount of success. So I was gonna use that again, but I figured I'd go something different because going same thing 2 seasons in a row is kind of lame. Um, Mandibuzz was my big defensive guy. Gastrodon is good because it's a ground type. I don't have any. I guess I have the Electric Immunity in Thunderous Therian, but I wanted the real, actual ground type on the team. Bramblegast is one of my favorite low tier like utility Pokemon because it's got like Strength Sap and Rapid Spin, and Wind Rider is really good if your opponent forgets about it. Sableye I picked up last, just because I wasn't sure what to do with my last 10 points, and I figured I've always wanted to try out Sableye. I wanted to because it's so disruptive. It can use Thunder Wave, it can use Will-O-Wisp, it can bounce hazards, it can do so much stuff, and I wanted to see how it worked. I do agree. I found, especially in mocks for my week 1 game, I was definitely feeling like the pinch of like, oh, I'm both Mandibuzz and Sableye week to Fairy, so having some struggles there. But overall, I'm pretty excited for this team. I guess I'm gonna hand it over to Luke so that he can flame me some more. But
Oh,
yeah,
good.
Absolutely.
Um, I don't. This team, I know where all the dark types went. Uh, Honestly, most of your Pokemon that you're gonna bring every time, Palafin or Iron Moth, Thundurus, Ogerpon, Mandibuzz, the majority are weak to Rock, so you're gonna need to be bringing a lot of uh, Defog Rapid Spin on your Pokemon. Your Defoggers are Flying type, which means they're gonna want to bring Boots. Sableye might be good for blocking hazards, but it's gotta get in there before it does that. So it's not like a Hatterene immediate switch. Your rocks on the other side now, kind of thing.
for sure.
Paladin takes a while to set up. Uh, I like Ogerpon, Cornerstone, Terra, although that does just make bulky water types go really well into your team, with the exception of uh, uh, Gastrodon. Why did I forget? Uh, just Sang. Uh, like a Ogerpon water will do well into this team,
Mhm.
most likely. So I'd watch out for that. Generally a little ice weak, although Cornerstone rid of its grass type, so there. I don't know. Relatively mid team.
Glad to hear it. Glad
Yeah.
to hear it.
I mean, look, I
But
just I think I it goes against every fiber of my being to say it, but I kind of think it's an alright team. Look, I am an I'm an Iron Moth stan. I think it's great, especially with the booster speed set. If you can set that up late game, I think I hate Palafin. I don't think it's very good, but uh,
yeah.
some people here are insistent on using it, And it does give good priority, so there is priority on the team, which is good. Got Gastrodon to set up all the hazards. Brambleghast has spikes. Sableye can bounce back all the hazards. Because between Sableye and Mandibuzz, you're not going to have to worry too much about putting boots on Thundurus or Iron Moth, assuming you can keep those defogs or magic bounces up. Then Tinkaton and Gastrodon can always come to set hazards. Ogerpon can also set spikes, so I think you're doing pretty well on the hazard front. Obviously, having your fastest Pokemon be 110 is not great, but I don't think it's unworkable, especially with the priority from Palafin and a speed boost from Moth. Yeah, I think the like 160 attack from Palafin and then your high 140 and 145 attacks from Iron Moth and Thundurus Therian are, I think they're going to pay off. I think there's going to be a pretty good team, to be honest. As much as it hurts me to say it.
Thank you. Well, I'm
So
glad someone is optimistic as it.
with that, we can move on.
Oh, wait. I
What?
don't know why Arbok. Can James explain why Arbok is on that team?
There's not an Arbok on this team.
Arbok?
Oh, psych. Never mind. That I copied over different things. Then don't worry about that then.
He lied.
I
Okay.
Explain why.
was
Explain. Okay. Well,
explain why I can't copy things correctly.
we've clearly been recording for too long. Luke's losing his marbles, so let's just end this out. Shadow, you can go first. Pick your two teams you think are going to play in the finals and who's going to win.
So for my two teams, let's just say I don't know anyone here.
Okay.
I would put. So the big guys is solid. I would take the big guys. I think that's a definite playoff maker. Looking at the team versus the big guys versus either Philadelphia Porygon Z's or Cleveland Kicking Chicken.
All right, which one are you taking?
I think I'll have to go with the Porygon Z's. So I think Cleveland Kicking Chicken. Eventually, people will find their ways around the 5 physical offense Pokemon.
Sounds good.
So I want to see just a bunch of high tiers versus just overall solidity. I think that would be fun to see.
All right, who do you think's going to win between the two big guys in Philadelphia, Porygon Z's?
If the big guys can chip down the Stakataka enough, the Salamence cleans.
So taking the big guys, I'm in.
Taking the big guys.
All right, how about you, Luke?
Wow, you're not gonna believe this.
Sneasler is scary. All right.
But I'm taking the big guys once again.
Okay.
Honestly,
That's 2
my
votes of
favorite
confidence.
team in this draft, personally. And I'll take San Diego Solrox, I'd say.
Oh,
I don't know. I feel like they're a bit of a dark horse
okay.
against big guys.
Hmm.
However, I do think the big guys will win.
All right. So we're looking at 2 predictions that the big guys are winning it all. All right, James, do you have anything different? Don't say the big guys again. That'd be no fun.
I mean, the big guys could lose to Sneasler.
That's very true. That's very
big
true.
guys could just lose every other game this season and not make the playoffs, and we'll all look like idiots. James, what are you thinking? Did he leave?
A minute.
Oh dear.
James. Whatever. I'll make my prediction. So I think that I'm going to go within the finals. The Massachusetts Mudkips. A team with Pterodarmanitan. I think that they're
It's a
going to be
fun
able
one.
to. They're going to be able to use the overwhelming power of Darmanitan and Xurkitry's 173 special attack and bowl their way into the finals. And I think in the finals they're gonna get up against I'm gonna say the close combatants. I'm gonna say Kamba makes it back to the second flight finals. And so we're gonna have a previous Johto champion and a previous Hoenn champion thrown down in the finals. And I think ultimately I'm going to predict the close combatants to win the finals with this Spectre, Tinglu, Terapagos team, and Glade Mega in there too. That's what and additional prediction. I think Glade Mega is going to pick up 3 kills in the finals. So
3 kills in the
yeah,
finals
that's my
with.
prediction.
I mean, it does get the Swampert. Maybe it rock slides the Moltres.
I think it's going to set up a Swords Dance. It might even Shadow Sneak the Darmanitan and kill it. Trust me on this one.
It'll be Zen mode Darmanitan. So
I think I see an agility Mega Glade angle here.
Okay. Yeah, I could see
You
it.
see?
I could see it.
Yeah, it's quite fun. Like late game, maybe it cleans.
All right. So that's my finals prediction. James, are you back?
I am. You'll never guess who muted himself again.
Was it
So yeah,
Luke?
actually, it was Luke. No, kidding.
Okay. All right.
But in all seriousness, I think the Florida Fuecoco's are a very solid team in my opinion. I think they can definitely make the finals.
Wait, say that again.
And I think the Clayton Knucklesacks might make the finals too. I like this team.
All right.
And I think out of the two, I think the Florida Fuecoco's would win. Of course, I'm not gonna as
Say the
perfect as
team
my
name again.
as
Wait,
perfect and
say
as
the team name
amazing
again.
and as awesome as my team is.
Yeah.
I feel like it'd be kind of lame to just say I'm winning it
Pick
all.
yourself.
And yeah.
For sure. All right. Well, I suppose we'll sign off. So, good luck this season.